Bug attack. He'll never see me coming.
Bug attack, what?
He'll never find me. Aha! You thought I was in the bush, but alas, I was merely airborne.
You were so concerned with the X and Y axis, you forgot the Z axis.
Okay, so I don't normally make videos like this, but just this once, because this is something I feel very passionate about. I feel like I have something to say here. So I've been seeing a lot of people say that Wilds is the best Monster Hunter game, and I'm gonna have to disagree with you on that one, and it's for a number of reasons. But I'm gonna have to like just take a second to like outline some of this and really like get down into the nitty gritty of it in like broad sections, and then maybe as I talk about it, the rambling will turn into something more coherent, because like it's just a lot, right? Like this is like something that like I'll bother everybody about. Like all my friends will say like they'll say a thing, and then I'll shoot off into like a 10-minute spiel about it. So I feel like I gotta just get all this out into one video, and then whenever it gets brought up, I just don't have to say anything anymore because it exists somewhere. So basically, here's what it is. Monster Hunter Wilds is great. I like this game. I think it's great. I think it's everything that Monster Hunter World should have been, in the way that you took Zora Magdaros out. That's all you needed to do. He's gone. There you go. Really, that's all you needed. You didn't need to do anything else. And everything else that you add is basically just gravy. So, like, you know what I'm saying? This is just a win. But it's not the best Monster Hunter game. That's just how it is. I can't say definitively which the best one is, because I think that there's a best one for 3 different reasons. I've only played since the PSP version, so I might not know anything. I didn't play the first one, so I don't know. But here's the major thing here. Okay, so like, you got the beginning of Monster Hunter Wilds is great. However, it's highly scripted. It's highly scripted in the way that, like, you don't really feel it. You're just waiting for the things to happen. For example, like that opening sequence where you're chasing the Balahara on the boat. By the time you've played the game, if you're like me, maybe I'm wrong, I got spoiled in this, but like, I saw people play that part. It's even part of like the opening trailers that they saw, like leading up to the release of the game. So like, if you were watching any of the media leading up to the game, then you saw this part that I'm talking about. So you know what I'm saying right now. If you play through that part with the knowledge that you want to do something different than what you saw, you can't, because that part is so heavily scripted. You can't get around any of it. And that feeling of being like choked out by the game is prevalent throughout a lot of the game, through things like secret writing. I'll get into more specific things later, but what I'm going to speak on now is the pathing, when you auto path through an area. This is all stuff that, like, it makes you feel choked out. Like, some people might call it freedom, but I call it feels very restrictive to me. Like, as a player, I feel like, I can't make choices when I'm on those paths. I feel like I have to put the controller down and let nature take its course, basically. So, like, I don't really consider that, like, you know, the kind of open world thing that they're preaching. And then you have games like Rise, which I'll be more or less comparing that directly to, because people will shit on Rise in comparison to Wilds because of generally graphics, which, like, really in the grand scheme of things, doesn't change a lot in Monster Hunter. It doesn't change the overall nature of play. Like, sure, it makes it look better. I'm not gonna disagree with you on that. That's why, like, in the grand scheme of things, those games look the best. That's fine. It lessens other aspects. It brings them to a halt. What's good? Things that are very good about Wilds are the moving around as you can, like, swing a weapon. That's very good. Like, that makes getting into playing a weapon very easy, whereas, like, the barrier to entry to playing a new weapon in the older games is very hard, because, like, you can't reposition automatically, like, things, like, you can't do that. In Wilds, you have the ability to use focus mode and aim your attacks, which is very good. Like, being able to do that and shift minutely in any direction means that you can very easily kind of acclimate to the pacing of a weapon, barring things like the monster behavior, right? So, in that way, it becomes very easy learning a weapon. So, you know, it's a plus. So you would think that if the game looks the best, then you would want to watch the cutscenes. But the story has never mattered in this game. So I feel like the graphics can be mostly negligible in a lot of cases, and you probably wouldn't be able to tell the difference. And this is only reflected in the fact that nobody watches the cutscene. Oh, but nobody's watching the cutscene. You're probably if you are a streamer, then you were probably watching the cutscene while you were talking to chat, and you weren't absorbing it, or you skipped the whole thing. I'm guilty of the same thing. Guilty as charged. Yep. So, like, ain't nobody watching them cutscenes. So overall, like, looks are pretty much negligible across the board, right? I mentioned this earlier, but let's talk secret riding. It's not good. Honestly, Palamute riding is better. Yeah, it is. Yeah, there's not a single thing about this bird that makes it better. I'm sorry. Nope, not one. Yeah, I mentioned it earlier. If I have the clip in there, then you already saw it, but I'll just say it again. Like, the auto-pathing with the secret is prevalent everywhere and only serves to stop you from, like, just going to a place. Like, I don't know if it's happened to any of you, but for me, a lot of the time, there will be like a small ledge, perfectly climbable, but I need the secret to get across it. And it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good because the secret is always so far away. Like, the secret takes, like, at least a second to respond, which means you want to call it a second in advance, and it just never feels good, because sometimes it doesn't even respond. Like, most of the movement being restricted to the secret is so annoying. After coming from a game where you could basically do all the movement yourself. And this is why, like, I honestly think that the best Monster Hunter game won't exist anymore. It could. It very well could. But, like, I think that the best Monster Hunter game would have been Rise, developed for PS5. Then nobody would be talking. Rise developed for PS5 without stories being developed alongside of it, Rise would have been the best Monster Hunter game. Like, I think that realistically, being developed during COVID and being developed alongside Monster Hunter Stories put Rise in a really bad way, where like it really could have shined as a better game. There are flaws with it, obviously, but I really feel like it could have shined if it was allowed to, basically. Most of the things that I would have liked to, like most of the terrain that I would have want to traversed in Rise is found in Wilds, unfortunately. Like a lot of the floating rock areas that you find, how could you imagine how sick that would be to do in Rise instead? Insanity. Insanity. And now, like, it's basically reduced to a section where you turn your brain off for the whole thing. I don't see how what's the best about that? I feel like a lot of people who have this mentality of Wilds being the best are people that haven't played a lot of Monster Hunter and just have they just like looking at stuff, which is fine if you like that. But let me just break it down into 3 categories. This is what I've always believed. Monster Hunter Generations has the most content. Monster Hunter Rise is the most fun. And Monster Hunter World / Wilds is the best looking. That's just how it is. Because Generations has the biggest roster out of them all. So you'll be playing it for the longest, right? There's a lot of like high rank to G rank farming to be done in that game. And then you got deviant monster types all the way at the end. So there's just a lot of content to be had in this experience over here. Then in Rise, it's just balls to the wall fun. People might bring up turf wars. I think personally that turf wars are like the best turf wars are the ones that you handle yourself, which are the ones in Rise. Like you take control of the monster and they've got full move sets that you use yourself. Like, what's not to love about that? Like, sure, world cinematic, like watching a movie. Yeah, it's great. But like, do I also want to get onto the top of the Nargacuga and do a fucking spin attack myself? Yeah, I do. And the fact that you can even chain them one after the other, if you're at a high level, like you can like do a wyvern ride on one, flip off of them and do another one, and then do another one on another creature. It's just non-stop, balls to the wall fun. And then if you play Worlds or Wilds, you're in for just a cinematic masterpiece of a game, pretty much. There's not much to be said about it. It looks great the whole way through. Worlds has Zora Magdaros, so that's a thing, and that's pretty much how it is. One disappointing thing I will say about Wilds is that, I guess this started ever since Generations, pretty much. Do they have it in Generations? I guess I'll check right now. So there is. So ever since Generations, pretty much, like certain monsters just would like get introduced that for some reason or another, don't have an associated armor set to them, which diminishes the fun of Monster Hunter, really. Like, killing a monster that you never end up getting armor for, it kills the whole fun. Like, nothing. Like, literally nothing. It's like, why even put it in there? I'm citing specifically Zoshia, unless they put an armor in later, or maybe you fight it again at a later HR or something, but I'm at the farming point of the game and it's never happened yet, so I'm wondering what's up, you know, like, it feels like wasted time for something that could have been really easy to solve. And like, there's a number of ways I've thought of, like, you can just do a small change, just a very small one, and maintain the same level of fun that Rise brought to the game in Wilds. And you know what? This conversation would die right now, but I don't think that's gonna happen, because let's talk wedge beetles. Wedge beetles are fucking stupid. Wedge beetles are so fucking stupid. And in Wilds, they've only served to make them worse because some of them only happen once. You use them once and then they go away. It's like, what's even the point? I get that maybe you're trying to have a more grounded, realistic aspect, but you know what would really amp up the nature of the game? If you made wire beetles something that you could catch and then use as a wire bug. There you go. You want to just give me a job right now, Capcom? I'm ready. It's fine. I'll do it right now. It's great. Like, I've been willing for many years now, and my email is open at any time, right? In Worlds, I said the same thing. It's so weird that when you mount a monster, you can't just stay on it. As soon as the monster decides to fly away, you fall off. Why? And most people would say, like, oh, well, you know, like, if you fell off and they were, like, over a weird part of the map, then what would you do? How about the thing that they've made you use as a form of transportation since the beginning of the game? How about wing drakes, huh? Yeah? Wing drakes? You just make it so that wing drakes follow the monster out, and then when they fall off because of failing the ride, they use the slinger to the wing drake. It's very simple, and I don't understand why. Like, you know, it's these sorts of things where I'm like, really? And that's the reason why I get all this, like, I see all this hate online for Rise, and I go, that's some of the most fun I've ever had. And then I see them play Wilds and they're like, this is the best game ever. And I'm like, no, it looks great, yeah. But then what about this? But then what about that? But why this? Let's talk about my biggest gripe before I close it out, because I feel like I've been ranting for fucking forever now. Let's talk about the multiplayer. It's abysmal. It's bad. It's awful. Like, I don't know what, so some of the criticism I've heard is that, like, you know, Rise wasn't that great, but this game is the best. And that criticism was largely said by people who played this game by themselves. I don't know about you, but Monster Hunter was always a fun game to play with friends. That's why it's a 4-player game, right? Otherwise, I would just play Elden Ring, right? That's just how I feel on it. But, like, you know, it's fine if you don't have anybody to play with and you still like Monster Hunter. That's fine too. But at the same time, it's like, when you can jump online and have this multiplayer experience, you know, why not have that, right? I thought that was the point. So again, like, a lot of the criticism I hear is that is from people who have played this game completely solo, and then they say it's the best one, and I'm thinking, what about when you used to play through all of HR 2 to, like, 6 with your friends? which is something you can do on Generations. So I don't know, maybe I'm crazy, right? Maybe I'm ridiculous on this one, but maybe if you want to leave a comment down there telling me your thoughts on this, maybe I'm on some shit. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about, but I feel like I've always loved Capcom. I'm a huge fan of this series. I still like Wilds. If the footage that I show you will prove it, obviously it looks like I'm having a good time. Like, I synced up all the lights in my room so that it would, like, really put me into the atmosphere, and I had a great time. But I need everybody to acknowledge I need everybody to acknowledge the fact that once you've played some Monster Hunter, you will eventually learn the truth that is. The deep truth that is. Rise. Balls to the wall fun. Generations. Longest experience. Wilds. Looks the best. These are all separate and best in their own categories, and they are not together. There is no best Monster Hunter game because it will never exist. We know which one that is now. Rise for PS5. And it's just not coming. Yet. However, I am excited to see what happens with some potentially Iceborne content. You know what I think? If they honestly want to fix a lot of what I think is wrong with Wilds, what's actually going to happen, and here's my epic call-out for the DLC, is that they're bringing underwater combat back. It's gonna be back. I think so. We have 2 analog sticks now, and I feel like a lot of the difficulties that came with underwater combat in the past are now over. And some of the scenery in the underwater areas of Wilds have given me the thought that, like, you know, there might be something to that. Looks really good under there for like some really short swimming areas, and why would you make it look so good if you weren't gonna go all the way? It seems really weird. Maybe that'll just add to the pile of problems, who knows? But that's just my piece on it. You know, I think Lagiacrus will be the head of that if they bring that back. Quote me on that. But that's just my thoughts on that, and that's all I have for you. See ya.
Alma, more like wasting all my time.
Commencing quest now. Are you prepared?
Excuse me, Rathalos, guardian dog, you see. Watch out, death from above!
I just saw that meme again like the other day on his where the dude kept crank calling
I've got just one question for you.
Someone that always kills me like the 3rd time he calls, he's like, yeah, is this Champ?
Yeah.
Is there a Champ there?
Right. I just want to know if there's a champ there. Yeah, I don't know. There's no champ here. I don't know who is champ. That question will be answered this Sunday night. Boom!